Hello and welcome to the Gfinity Arena for round 4 of the V10 R League. Tonight, it's the battle between our three-lettered teams. Will defending champions BMW recover their losses from last week, or will R8G continue their winning streak, gaining more points on the board? Let's find out. It's time for the V10 R League. Welcome to the show. This is the V10 R League. I'm Tom Deacon, and joining me today on the desk for our third matchup of the day in Season 3 of the V10 R League is Hayden Gullis and George Morgan. Now, very experienced in the world of sim racing, Hayden Gullis. Have you enjoyed the day so far? We're at the halfway point. There's been some great action.
I have. There's been some incredible action that we've seen so far, and I'm hoping for more of the same. We've got a great tie, BMW R8G, two teams again at the bottom, like the first show that we saw earlier on, but I think it's going to be just as exciting.
He's setting it up beautifully there, George. What can you add to that? We've had your voice back again, commentating, bringing an energy. What have you loved about today so far?
I think the scraps have been intense. I think we saw quite a thrilling encounter between Aston Martin and Mercedes. Obviously, I think the stewards were very busy after that one, it has to be said. But, you know, it's been great. And that's exactly what this series is all about. Big performances, big races, big wins. OK, well, gentlemen, I'm very happy. And it is my pleasure to have you alongside me. And it's also a pleasure to have you with us as well. Now, it may be round 4, but for those of you at home that might be watching the V10 R League for the first time, it is worth quickly giving you a rundown of the V10 format, as it's a little bit unique. We're going to be racing 2 circuits in our matchup today, with 2 formats of racing taking place. The first format of each track is the relay race, where drivers race one at a time, trying to complete 4 laps before the opposing team does. Drivers swap out after each lap, and the pit stop changeovers can be challenging, as we have seen in previous weeks and today as well. It's a technical race that requires a lot of team strategy, so get ready for that. Then we'll be moving on to the second race format of each track, the team race. This is an all-out 3v3 straight race to the finish line, with teams scoring points on their finishing positions. So everyone's aware of what happens in the relay and the team race. Obviously, don't panic. We will go more in depth as we get closer to the first race. But we start with relay. BMW and R8G, as Hayden pointed out, those are our 2 teams. When we look at BMW and what they've been able to do as the reigning champs, it's not act like reigning champs. No, they've got a very different roster to what they had previously. Of course, gone are the days where Kevin Siggy was obviously representing them, but they've come here with a fairly experienced, more endurance racing outfit, certainly with the likes of Alan Terzic, Ibrahim Khan and Phil Dens, but they're looking for, I think, retribution at this point. They need to turn this around. R8G, they have been sensational, probably raised the bar for themselves in a sense. I don't think we expected them to be this good, I think, at this point. Well,
they have improved. It is Season 3. But it is quite a drop-off from where we'd expected BMW to be. But let's focus on R8G. Romain Grosjean's team, they found their form. They're getting into the competition more.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Suzuki last time out, 3-1 victory against them. So that is a positive after, you know, they got absolutely smashed in the first round, 4-0 by Yas. But Yas, one of these insane teams. And this is a good group to be in, because it looks like there's only one of those big teams at the moment, whereas the other teams can kind of scrap it out for those playoff places. So it's very close. And even Williams last time around took it to 5th, got the 5 points and took it to 2nd place. So they're not out of the hunt. And R8G, yes, okay, they're in the bottom 2, but they're on 3 points, and a couple of points will put them up to 2nd. 3 points put them into the lead of this group. So it is all to play for them.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this matchup because, as you say, both teams have taken on Suzuki Jacer and differing results. R8G, as you mentioned, last week got a win, but BMW didn't in week 1. They're yet to score points. Does that mean, George, now bear with me here, if both of them have played Suzuki, one of them's lost, does that mean that R8G should beat BMW today?
On paper, maybe. I mean, obviously, when we we had this with Mercedes and Aston Martin. I mean, look how that ended up. I mean, obviously it was Mercedes who eventually came out on top in that affair. But you look at Aston Martin and the performances that they delivered, we could easily see something different happening.
Yeah, Williams Esports on top of Group A. They're coming off the back of a 4-0, a whitewash against that team, BMW. So they turned up and really showed what they're possible and got the potential to do. Fixtures today, we have mentioned that we've already had 2 encounters already. That was Red Bull versus Team Fordzilla. I feel like I should have said, look away now if you don't want to know the result. Oh, it's too late. And Aston Martin got a 2-1 win against Mercedes. So we've got this race now between BMW and R8G, and then to close out today's proceedings for round 4, Suzuki Team Jacer versus Yas Heat. And then we know how good those 2 teams have been so far. So what do we need to know then, George, about these teams, the BMW drivers? Should we start with them?
Yeah, well, we've got 2 drivers here, Phil Denz and Alan Terzic, who are both representing BS Competition outside of V10R. BS Competition themselves are actually an academy team that support the BMW esports squad. So no surprise to see these 2 certainly part of this. Alan Terzic himself, he's competed in prototype racing as well as GT3, so very well versed to endurance, as is Phil Denz. Ibrahim Khan as well, I've commentated on him in the 24 Hour of Barcelona as well. Very imposing character in that form of racing. Single-seater is not something that they may be as used to as perhaps some of these other talents, but certainly the likes of Ibrahim Khan has taken part in FSR, the Formula Sim Racing Championship that Bono Huis has been dominant in over the years in the past. So unfortunately, Ibrahim Khan perhaps not at that same level, but at the same time, they're professional sim racers. Yeah. So you'd still expect them to perform at some level.
They've got the minerals. Whether they can deliver. He actually mentioned, Ibrahim Khan was like, oh, George commentated on me and I enjoyed it. That's not factual at all, but I imagine it would be.
I'll take it.
Indeed he will. In terms of endurance racing, that's not quite what this format's about. It's about hot lapping, essentially.
I mean, maybe BMW are, because they're currently at the bottom of the table. Maybe they're in it for the long haul and they're going to come back strong at the end of this series and get the points on the board. But as it stands at the moment, you know, you don't want to leave it too late. And it's short races, you know, it's 1 lap pretty much for some of you. A driver will get to do 2 laps in that Joker, but there's no endurance. There's no sitting there for hours on end, putting in lap after lap after lap. So it's all about being as quick as you possibly can in qualifying, and maybe that's where they're not suited this series.
Okay, not suited. R8G back to getting some points on the board and getting the first win. Let's look at the picks and bans. With the V10R League, the teams get to choose out of the 5 tracks which one they want to ban and which one they want to pick. And straight away, BMW say Mugello, no, thank you. Monza, yes, please. And R8G say yes to Yas Marina. They say yes to Yas Marina, and they say no to Spa. There we go. There was bound to be a pun at some point, and it just slips out of my mouth. I do apologise. With those tracks we're heading to, George, which one are you looking forward to?
Well, Yas Marina, I think, has provided quite a spectacle, I think, for this round. So it's great to see it back, certainly for this one. But yeah, I'm a bit sorry to see Spa get banned. I think that's, again, we've seen some great races with that.
Is that because you would have been able to mention that you were there like last week?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So I'm going to mention it now anyway.
Yeah, no, you've still got it in. That's good. Hayden, out of those 2 tracks before we head to a break and then get the action underway when we come back. Looking forward to these 2 tracks?
Monza. With V10R League always throws up chaos, carnage, and Monza is, you know, the perfect place to do that. There's bound to be a collision down at turn 1.
Hayden,
so more of the
you've
same,
jinxed
really.
it now. You've jinxed it. Listen, we will get the first race. It's coming your way when we return after this quick break. Welcome back then to the V10R League with myself, Tom Deacon, Hayden Gullis and George Morgan. We're looking forward to getting into the first battle out of 4 between BMW and R8G. Here we go then, Hayden. We're looking at this based on the form that we've been analysing during that very short break. Who do you think's got the edge going into this then?
I mean, they've both had a few losses. Well, R8G have had a big loss at the start of the series, but I think I've got to go with R8G. They got the win under their belt, beating Team Suzuki 3-1 last time out, but BMW haven't got a win to their name. They've got a point on the board, and they've maybe got a point to prove today, but, you know, it's all up to them, really.
OK, all right, so Hayden reckons R8G are going to take this. However, we're going into the relay race, and you might be thinking, hey, I need to have that explained to me. Well, worry no more. I wasn't saying you were worrying, but here it is. In the relay race, all 3 drivers in the team must complete 1 lap each, with drivers swapping out of the car during pit stops. 1 driver per team must complete an extra lap, known as the Joker lap. A Joker lap can be taken at any time during the relay race by any driver on the team. The team that completes all their laps first, including the Joker lap, is declared the winner of the relay race to take 1 point. So there you go then, that is the relay explained, set out there. There has been a driver change for BMW. Camara, who got a P6 last time out against Williams. Phil Deans comes in. What do we know about him, George? And what do they need to do to get that first point in this relay race?
Phil Deans is actually a very, very successful racer in terms of, like I said earlier, prototypes, GT3s, likes to battle wheel to wheel, very tenacious. I would expect him to be strong in a sense of a battle. I think racecraft-wise, he's very good.
But will he be taking the Joker lap? That's the question.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is the whole thing with this team, because we don't know too much about them in the single-seater world of things. So it's up to them. The ball is in their court. I mean, we can't really identify one solitary figure. Hand it over to Hayden.
Lights are on, engines revving, and we're going racing here in Monza. It is Team R8G who are leading the way as we head down into turn 1. A fairly similar start between both teams. Will there be a send in towards the first corner? No, and no contact. But of course, we can expect that in the team race later on. Terzic in the car for BMW. We've got Toman in the car for R8G. And it's going to be all up to Terzic to try and catch up and overtake now. 0.3 of a second is the gap between the 2 drivers. It's looked like in recent weeks that Terzic has been the driver to take that Joker lap. Whether we see that today or the new guy, Phil Dean, stepping in will take that, we'll just have to wait and see. But Toman doing a good job at the moment, but not an incredible job. He's only about half a second up the road, but that gap's just eked out ever so slightly through the 2 Lesbos.
Yeah, he's found a lot of pace heading out of that particular part of the circuit, heading down the Serigilio straight in towards Ascari, and he'll then be making his way towards the famed Parabolica bend, the last corner on the circuit before they take the next lap. Yuri Toman in front and marshalling a very good advantage ahead of Alan Terzic, who's in behind, as I alluded to before. Prototype racing driver, competed in the Le Mans Virtual and the RCCO World EX. As now you can see them make their way through, and Terzic is staying out. So he's going to take the Joker lap for the start here. So that's where BMW have given, well, certainly given the Joker lap to him.
Yeah, as predicted, Terzic doing the Joker lap as he has done previously. Toman flying into the pit lane here at the Monza circuit, and now watching a beautiful onboard with Terzic as it goes through the long right hand. They get the car over to the right-hand side and then hard on the brakes as you head into the second chicane. Mount the left-hand curb, but don't touch the one on the right as it will really unsettle the car. And then again in towards the 2 Lesbos. Really committed on the first part. Takes as much curb on the outside as you can possibly get away with, and then really attack the inside of this next one. And again, allow the car to drift out wide as you get on the traction and head down this fast back straight into the Ascari chicane. Again, more commitment is needed into this next corner. A little dab of the brakes before the car in through the left, then the right, then left again. Don't touch the curbs, don't be too greedy, otherwise it will throw you off into the barriers. We got Chinchik in the car for Team R8G. He'll be up next. Terzic doing the Joker lap, of course, will be heading through the Parabolica now, nice and tidy on the exit as he's going to be coming into the pit lane, and we'll be handing over to Chinchik in the R8 car, as you can see in the backdrop there, and now on full screen heading out for his lap. So a good 2 laps there from Tertzig, but was it enough? Is it going to be enough to upset the R8G team?
Well, this is the key man, I think, in the R8G setup, Marcel Czincik. He, of course, very, very good when it comes to single-seater racing, has competed in the Formula Pro Championship and has also been successful here at Monza as well. He took up a P3 position in his most recent outing at the end of May, managing to turn that into a second-place performance as well in that particular series in a very, very competitive field. So keep your eyes peeled on Marcel Czincik, folks. This could be the man to set the Joker lap for the R8G team. Ibrahim Khan now in the car, and that's for BMW Esports. And he'll be hoping to get out with a bang, that's for sure. Hopefully not literally, as Marcel Czincik comes through Ascari. And let's fly that particular part of the track. He's now got a long straight ahead. You can just see how immersed he is in his screen right now. And making his way down towards the famed Parabolica bend. Let's see where he applies his trade. Will he stay out? Indeed, as I would think he would, obviously given his talents behind a sim wheel, certainly for this style of racing. No, he bails into the pit lane, so that means that Erhan Jajovski is going to be the man to certainly marshal in the Joker lap. Ibrahim Khan now back on track, and he makes his way down through towards the first chicane.
Interesting to note that Team R8G had a slow pit stop, so they lost time in the pit stop phase. Remember, when you come into the pit, 70 seconds starts on the clock. You have to then jump into your pit box, get out the car, tell your teammate you're ready. He'll jump back in. 1.6 seconds was the time they lost. And yeah, so then once you come out of the pit lane, you have a certain time limit, only the 70 seconds. If you go too early, you're going to get a penalty, but you don't want to go too late because you're going to lose time to your opposition. So losing 1.6 seconds of time is a big amount. So is that going to be enough for BMW to get back into this fight? You would hope so, but the way the BMW series has gone so far, it could still go R8G's way. As we're watching on board with Ibrahim Khan as he heads down into the Ascari chicane now. Jajovski is probably going to be the man to do the, well, he has to be the man to do the Joker lap because we haven't seen it yet from Team R8G. So it'll be interesting to see on this next lap where Khan is going to come out compared to Jajovski, as he should come through the final corner now and dart off into the pit lane.
He will. This is going to be the big moment now. Jajovski, what's his run going to be like? He's out on track, heading now into the chicane. And made a huge mistake there, rolling over the sausage curbs, and has had to dip his toes into the gravel trap pretty much. Has managed to get the car back on the straight and narrow, but those fine amounts of time can be crucial, and I get the feeling he's going to be feeling a little bit disappointed with the way that he's tackled that first chicane at the Rettifilio. Comes into the Rogia now, and needs to be really quick now. He's going to have to really recover all that time that he had lost, but I get the feeling that he's going to struggle to get it back at this point, Hayden. Yeah,
it's not what you need if you're Team R8G. You've already lost 1.6 seconds of time in the pit stop phase, and then to just go a little bit too deep into turn one, it compromises you through the second part of that chicane. Of course, he then hit the sausage curb, which unsettled the car, threw him off into, he did well to keep it out of the gravel trap, but it's still going to lose you a lot of time. Anyway, we'll wait and see whether it was enough time to be lost and whether Phil Deans will come out ahead of Jajovski as he comes around the final corner now. Look out for maybe a BMW car darting out the pit lane ahead of the R8G team. Heading down the start-finish straight now. There is Phil Deans exiting the pit lane. Is it going to be enough for BMW? No! Despite the mistakes, despite the pit stop fiasco, R8G are still in the lead of this team relay race, and Phil Deans has got a lot of work to do. 2 seconds is the gap between the two teams. Yeah, not a getaway he would have wanted, but Erhan Jajovski now with all the chance in the world to marshal a huge advantage. You can just see the smile on his face as he now makes his way through the Rogia chicane. He's then got the Lesmo to take next. You can see there Phil Deans now currently within 2 seconds. That's going out slightly as well. Another 1/10.5 apply to that. Make that 2 as he makes his way down through towards the second Lesmo here at the Temple of Speed, north of Italy, here at Monza. Certainly, Erhan Jajovski, a man who is
Been very successful in the past. Ironically, a BMW SIM Live winner back in 2020 and 21 has been with R8G since May 2020 and has represented them well, and he's represented them well again with a 2.6-second advantage that only seems to be going outwards here, Hayden. He looks like the dominant man at this point.
Yeah, Jajowski through the final corner now. It looked like it wouldn't go their way. A pit stop mistake, a mistake down at turn 1, but it is going to be Team R8G who take the first point in the team relay race at Monza, and BMW are going to be scratching their heads as to what exactly went wrong in this race.
What went wrong for BMW, your current champions from Season 2? We are looking at R8G, who seem very happy because the mistakes weren't costly for them. As we went into this first relay race, R8G second to bottom with 3 points. BMW on the very bottom of the table of Group A with 1 point. And so far, provisionally, that would put R8G in the same ballpark of 4 points that Suzuki had. Gentlemen, watching that race, there wasn't much to separate the two teams. Interesting the tactics, Jajowski going for the joker lap, and Terzic going for that joker lap early doors, but leaving it to their stronger drivers. What went wrong for BMW there, George?
It's hard to tell, really. I mean, it was a strange one. I mean, naturally, we saw the R8G mistake heading into the first chicane, that, of course, being Jajowski on his initial stint. It looked like he got it all wrong, and that time would have been very hard to recoup. But something happened in that final change, a little twist. Whether they didn't get the driver change spot on, it looks like they must have lost a little bit of time in that exchange of drivers.
I'm looking at the two other drivers who have raced for BMW, and that's Camara and Gregor Schill, and I feel like they've thrown in Phil Dins straight into the deep end at this point. Not much bad or anything he did wrong there.
It's hard to tell in these team relay races, especially when you have, drivers out on their own, because you can't compare them to the other team. Obviously, Deans came out, he's on track with another driver, and he did lose a bit of time. He took a bit too much curb on the second corner, would have lost a bit of time there. But yeah, definitely thrown into the deep end, especially when you're already down at that point. It's very difficult.
So you're suggesting if we put them in a 3v3 on the same track, that would be more interesting and we could really analyse them then?
I think so. Can we get that done?
We can do that. So the first point goes to R8G. Next up is the team race. That's what Hayden wants. That's what George wants. That's what I want at Monza. We'll see you after the break. Here we are then, the V10R League. We are halfway through our race at Monza, the Temple of Speed. Hayden, Gullis and George Morgan doing everything they needed to do in the commentary box, really talking everything up in that race. And I can confirm that R8G, even though they made a fair few mistakes, they take the 1 point. That is provisional. Any incidents will be reviewed by our dedicated team of stewards behind the scenes. So here we are then. We are racing in Monza. Now we were heading to the team race, and so far R8G have a 1-0 lead. After this, we'll be heading to Yas Marina. But if you're watching and thinking, hey, Tom, listen, I'm liking the sound of this team race, but what do I need to know about it? Well, here is everything you need to know. Each team race involves all 3 drivers, in each team competing at the same time across 6 laps. Teams are awarded driver points based on the finishing positions of their drivers. The team with the highest combined driver points is the winner and picks up 1 match point. Yeah, that explains everything. Any more questions? You can send it to us. We're on Twitter and everything. It's the V10R League. Hayden, we head into this team race. You said you wanted to see a little bit of that battle because obviously when you're just out there on your own, you can't really see how good the drivers are. But when it comes down to a battle, there's going to be some contact. That's what you suggested at the Temple of Speed.
Well, I'm hoping I haven't jinxed it like you said I might have done. But how many times have we been there and how many times have we seen someone just get a little bit too hot into turn 1 or into the other chicanes? It squeezes everyone in there and it's very difficult not to trip over each other. And looking at the grid, it's looking like it's all up to BMW to try and, you know, go for a few of those sends.
Yeah, George, I'm looking at that. George, you've got Chinchik, Jajowski, Toman. They've got a 1-2-3, and that's very difficult to break.
I'd be looking at the times as well, and if you look at it, none of them are broken into the 19s. You can see the BMW team, which is a bit of a concern. Obviously, I think pace-wise, there's a little bit of a difference there, which is going to concern them. Certainly around Monza, a track that relies on sheer pace. That's why they call it the Temple of Speed. I think this could expose BMW ever so slightly, so it's going to be a challenge. Over to you, Hayden.
Let's find out. The lights are coming on. You can hear those beautiful V10 engines rev, and we are going racing here in Monza, and it is R8G who lead the way. Can BMW do anything to break the R8G team? They're having a little look down the inside as the contact that I said, but it's not as big as I thought it might have been. R8G making a blockade out of the second chicane. Chinchik driving off into the distance. Jajowski in second, Toman in third, and he is pulling up alongside his teammate once again, really making that blockade there so the BMW cannot find a way through. Luckily for BMW, they're not miles off the pace. Tertzik, Khan and Deans are right up behind Toman and Jajowski, but they need to get into first position in order to take the point. The best that they can hope for really at the moment is maybe to make it a draw if they can all overtake Jajowski and Toman, but it's not looking that way at the moment, is it?
No, Chinchik currently leading with an absolute advantage of his teammate Erhan Jajowski. 1.1 seconds is the gap. I mean, obviously, qualifying is one thing, but race pace is something totally different. You just see there a lot of twisting and turning coming out of Ascari. A little error, I think, there from Ibrahim Khan as Alan Terzic falls into formation in behind his teammate Phil Dens at the rear as well. Baptism of fire for Phil Dens at this point as they make their way around the final corner out of the Parabolica, down the long straight, leading down through towards the Rettifilio chicane. And Marcel Chinchik leading away. Here's Ibrahim Khan currently leading the BMW contingent. I have to tell you, it's not looking good right now. Nearly out by a second in behind Yuri Toman, and we're only on lap 2.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for the BMW team to try and break this R8G, who are in fine form. They won the last matchup against Team Suzuki 3-1, so they're feeling good about themselves. They're getting back into this series after 4-0 defeat against Yas Heat, and things are looking good at the moment for them up against BMW. I've said it before, if you're in 1, 2 and 3, it's so difficult for the other team to break you. That driver in third position has such a pivotal role as becoming the defender of the team to try and hold back, to give that safety buffer to the guys in first and second. But as it stands right now, Toman doesn't even need to do that because he's actually dropping Khan behind him. Tertzik and Deans, they just can't find that pace around this circuit to go and attack these guys. And interestingly enough, this is the track that they picked.
It is indeed the track that they picked. And also BMW, if you remember, the champions, of course, last season. This is a very different set of affairs. coming into this one, you've got your car stuck in fourth, fifth, and sixth. Obviously now Chinchik setting his lap at the fastest lap of the race. Erhan Jajovski taking that plaudit off him in second place with a 1:19.926, which is really encouraging for R8G. The fact that you're able to get into the 1:19s on race pace alone, already quicker than the quali pace that was being shown by BMW. That just goes to show the difference, the sheer difference in pace here out on track at this moment. You can see the graphic at the top right, R8G, a comfortable 20 points advantage ahead of the 6 that BMW currently have. I hate to say it, Hayden, but it feels like an uphill climb from here.
Yeah, if you're Team BMW, that graphic is not what you want to see at the moment, but they just don't have the pace, unfortunately, to attack this R8G team. The R8G guys setting 1:19s. Whereas you've got the BMW drivers who are in the 1:21s, which is a huge deficit between the 3 drivers from each team at the moment. It's not over yet. There are still 3 full laps left to go. But as you said, it's a big uphill challenge between BMW and R8G. And, you know, what do they do in this situation? Is R8G now, you know, feeling comfortable going into the next round, especially a track that they're going to favour? Or does BMW... You know, they can't get themselves too down about this, surely. No,
they need to recover. I mean, they've won relay races before. We're now going to see another swap here, no doubt. Ibrahim Khan currently sat in 4th. Alan Terzic coming in behind his teammate. They go side by side now into the chicane, heading down in towards turn 1 and turn 2. And Alan Terzic will take that position. In behind now, Ibrahim Khan has to let it lie in 5th. And obviously, they just need to try and get something into motion. I mean, like I said before, they are familiar with race victory, certainly when it comes to events, certainly relays. They won the relay race 2 in round 2. That was against Suzuki. See Jean Alesi Team Suzuki. And as you can now see, Alan Terzic coming through the Lesmo bends now. Second Lesmo up next. They've got the Serigilio straight after this that leads you through. Oh, a bit twitchy there, very nearly losing the car altogether at that point. And these cars so different from the standard GT3s or the prototypes that they would have driven. These require a lot more care and attention because, of course, the one violent, aggressive move can cause them to lose grip and therefore either succumb to oversteer. And as I said that, out of the, what looks to be out of the Ascari chicane, further back, I believe that might have been Alan Terzic. It's Ibrahim Khan, sorry, who's crashed into the barrier, and that was a heavy blow.
Perfectly demonstrated there. He was clearly listening to the comms and wanted to demonstrate what was going on. Of course, 900 brake horsepower in the back of these cars. And if you use the push-to-pass button, that takes it up to near enough 1,000. And just watching, it's incredible to see the difference and how good these esports drivers are. We're watching on board there with Alan Terzic in the BMW, and he was right on the limit of the track. He was using as much of the track as he possibly could through there, and yet they're just still not quick enough compared to the R8G teams. We're watching a replay of the background, and there's Khan just getting a little bit too much on the AstroTurf, and it's one of those things you want to attack the track as much as possible to gain all the time in the world, but if you just go that little bit too far, the corners can spit you out, and it did there, unfortunately, for Khan at the exit of Ascari, and this is just kind of turning into a bit of practice now for R8G.
It is, and they can just get comfortable, get used to the car. Obviously, this is the last race they'll have to do at Monza for this particular round. After this, obviously, we'll head to the next one. But nevertheless, Chinchik is going to be enjoying himself at the front. 1.3 seconds now is the gap between him and his teammate Erhan Jajovski, with Yuri Toman now 1.6 in behind him. Terzic in 4th, 3.3. So Khan there running wide. Obviously, that's what led to his spin out of the Ascari chicane. Very fast pace at that particular point on the track. And you've got to try and avoid taking the curbs aggressively as well, but he ended up getting flunked right out wide, as you alluded to, Hayden. No grip at that part of the circuit, and therefore he went into oversteer. You have to be careful jumping back on the throttle in these particular cars as well, because they get off the ground so quickly, and if you are too heavy-footed, you can lose the car altogether.
As I experienced many a time when trying to record the Gullis Guides hot laps, there was a lot of spinning for me in that one. It's going to be a disappointing race as it stands for BMW, because if my maths is correct, this will mean that BMW are out of the series and there is no mathematical possible chance of them securing that third position and working their way into the playoffs. But I may be wrong, you know, my maths might not be up to scratch and there may still be a chance, who knows, we'll have to wait to see when we see the table later on. But as for R8G, it has been sublime. They have been absolutely spot on throughout this lap, just pushing the limit so far as Jajovski was way off the track there, nearly in the gravel on the exit. But for Chinchik, it was a fantastic start off the line. He's going to come round the final corner. He's led every single lap and he is going to take the race win. And he's also backed up by his teammates. It's a 1, it's a 2, it's a 3. R8G take the race win. And unfortunately, it's said and done for the reigning champions of BMW.
For a second there, I was wondering, will Hayden remember what comes after 2? And he smashed it. A 1-2-3 then for R8G. They started off in a 1-2-3 and they finished in a 1-2-3. Brilliant drive there from Chinchik. And I have to say, as watching as a neutral, this is going to be very difficult for BMW to get back into this matchup. So provisionally, it means that R8G take a 2-0 lead. And I turn over to George and Hayden, who've now rested sufficiently. It was pretty one-sided. It wasn't until that crash where I thought maybe there's a chance here for BMW, but it was pretty much a one-way traffic.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. I think R8G, obviously very comfortable, got away to a good start. But the fact, I think, that they were setting their lap times similar to their quali times, I think, was the killer. Obviously, BMW not quite able to catch the two 19s. And there you saw the incident. Obviously trying to get used to this part of the circuit. It's very quick out of Scari, but just wasn't to be on the day.
Yeah, not to be on the day. Good practice, though. That's a good way of looking at it. Not much for the neutrals at home, but a good practice for R8G to just keep it consistent, get across the line, make sure they cemented that 1-2-3, as you pointed out. But for BMW, how can you get quicker if your quali was a second off where it needs to be? There's no way of doing it.
Yeah, I think for BMW, they've just kind of been thrown in the deep end this season. It's unfortunate, especially with the driver transfers that they've been doing, or the switch outs that they've been doing so far this season. You want a consistent team because the team then can work together, get used to each other, find those roles. We've seen it so many times where most teams would have one solid captain and he dictates what's going on, and the other guys just sort of back him up. And with BMW, Turczyk looks like the strongest driver of the three, but because you're switching it out, it's very difficult, and that's unfortunately maybe their undoing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the results there coming in. Let's have a look at that incident because it probably was the most exciting bit of the very clear race. What happened? He just all over there, just hit the gravel, maybe just spin off. What is there, George?
It's a very fast-paced part of the track. I mean, the Ascari chicane is very, very deadly. Obviously, they've got quite raised curbs there. You can't really attack them too hard. You can lose grip on the car as well, but being flung out wide as well, there's not a lot of grip on that part of the track. Well, it's not even the track. So, you know, if you put your foot down then back on the gas, there's a good chance you're going to lose the rear end. And certainly in this case, I think he lost the front end on this particular occasion, found himself into the barrier. I would usually say cherry on the cake, but that's probably not the right phrase at that
Doesn't
point.
feel right there, George.
No, it's a rough trip to Monza, I think, certainly for BMW.
Yeah, well, the food's fantastic. Hayden, here's what I want to talk about, that defence. It's not just about that speed, but as a team, you need to work together. Too wide at the defence right at the start here.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant tactics. I mean, and this is something that maybe they were missing earlier on with Aston Martin, is that playing that team game. You've got your leader out in front, and they could see that quite clear with Chinchik through turn 1 and 2. And then these guys just side by side, holding the fort. OK, they're compromising each other slightly, but if they're holding it wheel to wheel, there's no room for the other team to overtake them. So it's not a bad thing that they've lost that gap to Chinchik, because, of course, it's a team game. And if they can get them out in the lead with a sizable gap, if they do make a mistake and BMW move themselves into second, they're still not going to catch up to first place.
Yeah, great tactics being used there, and that's kind of what the V10 League, our league, is all about, attack and defence. So that's something maybe BMW need to work on. But R8G looks good attacking, good at defending. Yeah,
very strong. And I think looking at their lineup at the start of the season, I don't think we would have expected them to be as strong as they have been. But, you know, looking at their CVs as drivers, they've got a lot of potential. Formula Pro races, single-seater races across the board. Very well suited, I suppose, to the V10R League. So you know, certainly with results like this, is going to fill them with a lot of confidence, and confidence is very important in a series like this.
Confidence is key. Here's my question then, and that's what everyone wants to know watching right now, because we're going to go to a break and then we're going to come back, and I believe we're travelling to Yas Marina. However, what do people need to know? Give them hope that BMW are going to come fighting. Tell them that, Hayden. Come on.
They're going to come back fighting.
Yeah, but
they're going to come back fighting.
What can BMW do? Is there a chance?
Yeah, there's great overtaking opportunities, and of course, if they do manage to break that qualifying and get themselves further up the grid, there's a great chance. And you know, mistakes happen. We saw it for Khan. You lose that back end, could take out the rest of the R8G team. They're 1, 2, and 3. Who knows?
Yeah, there you go. That's what I wanted. He sold it to me. How about you? Come back after the break, and we will have the second part of this matchup. See you in a second. This is the V10 R League. I'm Tom Deacon, running you through the action. Helping me, holding my hand, but not literally, is Hayden Gullis and George Morgan. We have BMW taking on R8G, and this is a battle at the bottom of Group A. both teams needing to get some wins and points under their belt. It started out with a very convincing R8G win in the relay. Mistakes weren't costly for them. And then we moved into the team race. One hefty crash at the back. But still a dominating performance from R8G. A 1, 2, 3, as you can see, right in front of you, 20 points for R8G and 6 points for BMW. Means 20 is greater than 6, which means that they get the point. R8G 2-0 into the half-time point. Halfway stage, I wouldn't say halfway point. Yas Marina is where we're heading to next. I have it on good authority. The Hayden Gullis and George Morgan said there's a lot of overtaking opportunities here. What could BMW learn from that first relay that they could then take into this second chance at Yas Marina?
Go faster.
The simplest answer is beautiful, but he's right though. George is spot on.
He is right, because we looked at the qualifying times and they were half a second down off of the other team, and even more if you go through further the drivers. So yeah, definitely go faster is the main tip. But of course, you know, just put the pressure on the other team, because if you're filling the mirrors, the pressure's on, their mistakes can maybe come into the R8G team, and you know they've lost 4-0 before, so there's potential for them to go back to that R8G team. So you know, you've got to give them hope.
Listen, and it's human behaviour. Mistakes can happen. I came back after the break and I didn't have my glasses on. It's classic. It can happen. I just put them down, just so used to it, you know, with these bright lights of the Gfinity Arena. But it's whether you capitalise on those mistakes, and that's what BMW need to be able to do, George.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the story of this championship, because you've got such fine margins for error, and we've seen it time and time and again, and it's up to R8G to turn that around. Hayden, I'm gonna send it over to you, mate.
Let's do it. The lights are on, the engine's revving. We're in Yas Marina and we are racing. And it is a fantastic start there for both drivers. But it looks like R8G has the inside line, and they do, and they take the lead of the team relay race. We've got the BMW of Alan Turczyk hunting Toman down as they go through the first couple of corners, now down in towards the hairpin. Is there a ascend here? No. Max Verstappen ascend into the hairpin, but now it's hard on the throttle, getting that slipstream, follow the driver all the way down the back straight. And unfortunately, it looks like for the BMW team with the setup that they've got maybe a little bit too much aero on the car, as they're not gaining too much there compared to Toman through the chicane. Such an important chicane because it launches you onto the back straight, and again losing a lot of time. The gap now down to 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, here we can see the order graphics below, folks. Obviously, to Alan Turczyk and Yuri Toman to send us on our way. Yuri Toman currently leading. We then got Ibrahim Khan and Marcel Chinchik there next to him, as well as Phil Dens and Erhan Jajovski. That is the running order here for this event. And certainly here at Abu Dhabi, as we now look ahead and see Yuri Toman now coming through the final sector here at this wonderfully built circuit, of course, introduced to us back in 2009. As I said earlier on as well, $1.3 billion spent in the production of this circuit, the construction. As now we're seeing Yuri Toman come into the pit lane. Alan Turczyk staying out, taking that initial joker lap. So he's going to try and get something underway here. Needs to put in a really strong stint at this point. It's going to be very testing. Oh, he got so close to losing the car, but did well to correct it there, Hayden.
Yeah, that was right on the limit. So close to throwing it all away, but there is still hope. Turczyk, it's rinse and repeat from the last team relay. He is going to be doing the joker lap, Toman into the pits, and it's. I was saying earlier that these guys are so on the limit, and they're right on the edge of the track and using as much of it as possible. And you know, that's all you can do as drivers. That's how you know that these drivers are so fast and so quick. But there's just little mistakes that are creeping in, and that looks like it could be BMW's downfall. But of course, we saw mistakes earlier for the R8G team in the pit stop. So if we see something similar in the second team relay race, then who knows? BMW, if they can keep it clean, no mistakes from them, they could get back in it. But for BMW, it's all about just trying to be as quick as you possibly can, and then hoping and praying that maybe R8G mess up.
BMW need to grasp every opportunity, and you're absolutely right. Any mistakes that are made during the pit stop phase, that's exactly what this team need to do. Alan Turczyk obviously trying to reduce. It almost feels to me that BMW are trying to get rid of that joker lap at the start, trying to sort of get things to business as usual, as now Turczyk comes in to the pit lane. and get the work done. Indeed, very close to the barrier on entry as well. Marcel Chinchik already out and running. So I have to say, I do wonder whether R8G actually have managed to master this one. They look comfortable coming out of the pit lane. You would have usually expected them to still be working their way through the tunnel. I get the feeling that the R8G pace is once again on show.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell who is on top at this stage of the race because they are on complete opposite ends of the strategy. You've got Tertzik doing the Joker lap first, and I think it's probably going to go the same way with R8G doing their Joker lap at the end. So we won't really know until the final lap who is on top. So we're just watching some incredible qualifying laps as we've got Chinchik taking all the curve on the right-hand side, taking this double apex corner back on the throttle. Oh, a little mistake there, but had the back end under control. Not as bad as what Tertzik experienced earlier on through the right and then back over through the left again. So difficult and not a lot of grip at this section of the circuit. Don't go too far out wide as the barrier is there to greet you if you do get too greedy, and then hard on the brakes once again. And this time it is Chinchik going for the Joker lap. So we're going to wait and see. Khan exiting the pit lane. There he is now on the left-hand side of the screen. He has to go under the circuit, and I think this is going to work out in the favour of R8G. They head through turn 2 into turn 3, and you can't even see that BMW in the background. There they are, exiting the pit lane now. 3.3 seconds is the gap. Is that job done?
That's comfortable. That is very comfortable indeed. A great lap. Certainly for Marcel Chinchik to usurp that of Ibrahim Khan, who's now got a lot of work to do. 3.8, 3.9, it may as well be 4 at this point here, in lap 3 of 4 at this point in time. Obviously now Marcel Chinchik, he himself, as I said before, a Formula Pro racer, and has competed at several events and has also been successful in the Formula E Championship as well. But yet again, we're seeing a dominant display here by R8G, showing off that pace that we witnessed at Monza as well. And as Hayden so rightly said, in this type of race, certainly in the relay events, it may as well be qualifying laps, and that's exactly what they need to do. But again, you see Khan just running out wide there slightly, not even hitting the apex heading into that point of the track. It's a very testing series, a testing car, and you need to be on point to get it right. And just see again in all sorts there happening with the steering wheel, trying to keep control of it is Ibrahim Khan. It's a mighty test for these guys.
Yeah, it really is. Into the pits comes Chinchik, and Khan will be following him very shortly. The 70 seconds on the clock starts now. So as soon as they cross that pit lane line, there is 70 seconds in which they must complete their pit stop and driver change in there. Get the car into their grid box. Then they have to leave the server. Once they have left the server, they'll be onto the comms, tell their teammate that it's free for the car to jump in. Then the teammate will jump into the car. And then they still have to keep to that 70 seconds. Even if they've got like 15 seconds, they've got 15 seconds to kind of chill and work out what strategy they want to do. Now, we saw earlier on, there was a team at the front of this pit lane, and they lost time going through the left. Of course, BMW are quite a bit behind at the moment. So, you know, they should really back up and then exit the pit lane that way. If they don't, they're going to lose a bit of time. But unfortunately for BMW, they're already quite a bit down at the moment. If they leave the pit lane any earlier than the 70 seconds, though, they are going to get a penalty added on to the time that they left too early. So you've got to make sure you stay above that 70 seconds, but you don't want to lose too much time playing it safe either, as both teams currently in the pit lane right now. Drivers are in. We've got Deans and Jajovski for the final lap of this race. The tension building. Who's going to leave the pit lane first? When are they going to start going? And there they are. It's Jajovski leaving the pit lane first, and we're going to be watching on board with Deans. It doesn't look like he's going to reverse up. He's going to go, and look how slow it is exiting that pit lane, because you just have to turn left and then right. You lose all the momentum, and it's already a 7-second gap, and now it's basically just practice for the team race.
Yeah, it's a very tricky pit lane, as you so rightly say as well. The gap has sprung out to 7.9. It's going to go out to 8. And now it looks like Erhan Jajovski, he's just got to bring the car home at this point. We're on the final lap here, folks, and Phil Dens now, he's going to be tasked with trying to reduce that gap as much as possible, but it is a mountain to climb. 8.4 now is the gap as they make their way down the next straight leading towards turn 6. And this Grand Prix circuit that has been adjusted, amended, obviously with the brand new feature heading through Sector 1, that being the sweeping left-handed corner and removing that chicane, that initial chicane. And then, of course, you've got the same situation heading in towards Turn 9, where you've got another sweeping corner at that point of the circuit, just to make Yas Marina a little bit more fast and flowing. and provides opportunities for overtaking, but it's all in the hands of Erhan Jajovski here, Hayden. He looks like he's going to bring it home.
He is so far ahead at this stage of the race. The gap has shot up to 9 seconds, which is not what BMW want to see. But what Roman Grosjean is going to be very happy at seeing is Team R8G crossing the line there and winning the team relay. Fantastic performance for the R8G team, but for BMW, it's going to just be a week to forget, surely.
Strong words from Hayden Gullis, but very accurate. We are looking at R8G right now, picking up another point provisionally if anything was to change. Almost getting to 9 seconds. Was it 8.5? It was around that mark. A very confident, successful win. Erhan Jajovski sending it home for them. And you know now that with these 3 points, that puts R8G up into 6 points, which might be overtaking Yas Heat, who were second in Group 8 before this matchup. We still have Yas Heat to watch later on as they take on Suzuki Team Jacer, but we're watching back again and again. As we've mentioned before, BMW just not really capable of putting much of the pressure on R8G. I don't want to say it was too convincing, but it was very convincing.
It was pretty convincing. I think as soon as R8G got in front, we're just seeing just a little error there from Alan Terzic coming out of turn 1, but it just seemed to me that the setup perhaps wasn't quite right. The straight line speed, if we look at the first lap, BMW weren't gaining. You'd expect them to as well, being in the slipstream, that they'd be able to close back heading down the long straight towards turn 6, but the pace wasn't there. I don't think the setup was there, and the driver changes weren't quite there either. It was a strong task. They were a bit sluggish exiting the pit lane. It's just a bad day at the office.
Yeah, and when you looked at that pit lane getting out of there for Dens, I mean, it was like we've seen it so many times. Why not help yourself out, save yourself, you know, whether it's a couple of tenths, it just helps just to move in to the lane to give yourself a best start.
Yeah, they lost time from not doing that, from not reversing up and instead doing the left then right, but it just looked really sluggish, as you said, just very slow. It looked like he just wasn't really that bothered, just couldn't be asked to get on the power, and then through the left and the right was maybe a bit too cautious, and I think the gap jumped up 2 seconds just from that one corner alone, which is in the pit lane. Luckily, though,
yeah,
we go to the team relay, or to the team race.
Yeah.
There's no pit stops. We don't have to worry about that.
He's such a professional, is Hayden Gullis. He's just poised it perfectly. You take a break. When you come back, we'll have the final race, team race, with R8G taking on BMW. See you in a second. Here we are then at the Gfinity Arena for the V10 R League Season 3. It's my absolute pleasure to be hosting it this season. Joining me, got Hayden Gullis and George Morgan. We're in the middle of a battle, a mighty war between BMW and R8G. When I say that, I don't quite mean that. The result in Yas Marina of the relay race goes to R8G, and I feel like every part of me, I'm fighting. I'm like, I want the underdog to do well here. It's 3-0 at the moment to R8G. They just seem to be the stronger team today. But I want, and maybe I'm wrong, I just want BMW to just to take a scalp here. What do you reckon, Hayden?
Well, every battle has a loser, and it looks like BMW are that one at the moment, doesn't it? But, you know, we've got a team race to go, so let's big them up and hope and pray that something's going to happen. A collision down into turn 1, all 3 R8G teammates just...
That's an awful position to be in when you're looking for a collision for a chance.
Yeah.
But they're a younger team. Would you say not as experienced, or is it just not up to speed with this V10 engine and this on the Assetto Corsa?
I think that's the argument. I think genuinely, it's a very different car to what they probably would have driven in the past. It's very high powered. At the same time, it can be very unsteady. It takes a lot to handle, and as you can see from the grid again, the times obviously very much differ. So it looks like a very similar picture to Monza.
Yeah, looking down at 1:27 that's 2 seconds off. Your teammate, and then you're adding an extra second to try and get near Chinchik. But he was fantastic in that first race in Monza, crossing the line. It was a dominant 1-2-3. You'd probably say that might happen again unless there is that collision.
Yeah, of course. I think R8G have got great... They know their roles. Chinchik is the man to lead out from the front, and it looks like we're going to be seeing that hopefully right now as the lights are on, the engines are revving, and we are going racing here at the Yas Marina circuit. We're off, and it is R8G who lead the way, and there's a BMW driver who's already in the wall, and it's only just, we haven't even hit the first corner yet, but it looks like they've got themselves under control, and racing is back underway once again. R8G leading the way with Toman, Chinchik, and then Jajovski. Turcik in 4th position with Denz in 5th, and Khan, who looked like the driver to make the mistake as Turcik goes up the inside of Jajovski, slide, a bit of contact there, pushes him off the track, but he does get the position. Deans moves up into P3 now, and it looks like Turcik in 4th, with Jajovski moving himself now back up into P4 there as he dropped momentarily into 5th position, right on the back of Phil Deans, who went from the back of the grid up to P3 into the podium. What a turnaround this could be for him, and a great thing for his confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. New strat here, certainly, from BMW. Here's the replay as we now witness them get off the line. Obviously, there was a little issue with a BMW car heading straight into the barrier at the start, obviously getting their foot down on the pedal perhaps a bit too aggressively, and then in came Alan Turcik with a move here on Erhan Jajovski. Oh, yeah, just full-on contact, just pushing him out wide, really, on the heading around turn 5. But on the outset, it certainly looks like Yuri Toman's on top, Jajovski in 3rd place. Further back, Alan Turcik. I tell you what, even despite the incident, he's now down into 4th place. It hasn't really done a lot for them, Hayden.
No, and this is really not what you want to see. You've got the R8G guys already 2 seconds clear of the BMW drivers after the first lap. And Jajovski, it's not that they just ran away with it from the first corner. Jajovski had an incredible battle with Turcik. Great overtake in towards that long sweeping turn 9 corner up the inside as we were watching the replay at the same time. And unfortunately, the pace just doesn't look like it's there. Of course, this was the track that R8G did choose, so you would expect them to be quicker, but unfortunately, it's quite a bit quicker over the BMW team. Turcik now 2.3 seconds off the pace, Khan a further 2 seconds off of him, and Deans now dropping from what was a podium position and looking quite strong, down 1.5 seconds into now actually dropping, still in P3, 3 seconds off the pace, as we're watching a replay of Dean spinning as so heading down into the last couple of corners here. Maybe taking too much curve, yeah, too much curve on the inside. It's a tricky corner because it's a lot more open compared to what it has been in previous series. So you can take it a bit faster, but if you take too much curve on the inside, it is really going to unsettle these cars. Yeah,
you could just see literally the chassis itself, the suspension. It was flapping up and down. You can really identify when these cars are on terrain that's guaranteed to pretty much unsettle the car itself. I mean, heading around that final corner now, you can see the R8G cars currently in tandem. Marcel Chinchik setting the fastest lap so far with a 1:25.011. Again, faster than the lap times that were being set by BMW in qualifying. So certainly no qualms as to their pace at this moment in time. Certainly Toman now on top, Chinchik in second, Jajovski in third, Alan Terzic down in fourth, and that gap has sprung out to 3.2 seconds now, nearly 3.3 as it does hit it now. Now rounding turn 5, and Yuri Toman on top, but Terzic with a lot to climb, and as it stands, 20 points going to that of R8G with only 6 to BMW SIM Racing Team. It certainly has been a rough day at the office.
It's not over yet, though, because there's an overtake. It's BMW driver overtaking BMW driver, so at least there's a bit of entertainment there as Terzic slowing down, and I don't know whether he's just called it a day. He's pulled over to the left-hand side of the track, allowed his teammate Khan and Deans through, or maybe there's an issue with his car or his connection or his PC. We'll have to wait to see on that one. But as for now, the important stat is that R8G are 1, 2, and 3 at the moment, and they're going to make it a 4-0 sweep as it stands, which will put them up into second place in this group, ahead of what is, you know, we've said it so many times, an insane team of Yas Heat, who are going to be dropping down to third. Now, of course, Yas Heat will be taking part later on in the show, so they can potentially take back that P2 and maybe even top the table once again. But this is fantastic for R8G, who, you know, it wasn't a great start to the series for them. 4-0 loss to Yas Heat, but they're straight back in it, and they are in the fight.
They are very much in the fight. Huge result here today if they can pull this off. Obviously, got another 2 laps to go at this point, and obviously anything can happen when it comes to racing. Certainly here at Abu Dhabi. Do I have to hark back to the finale at Formula One by any chance? Well, let's not. As now Yuri Toman makes his way in towards the next left-hander. Still on top, though, 7/10 clear of his teammate Marcel Chinchik. All 3 of these drivers have been so ultimately consistent, and that is exactly what you need to be in the V10R League. Certainly points on the table, points mean prizes at the end of the day. And if you look at these 3 drivers, all 3 of them have competed in pretty much the same competitions. They've raced together. Obviously, they'll have the same mindset. I think when you have a team built on the same ideas and certainly the same foundations, I think obviously that prepares you for an event such as the V10R League, and certainly in single-seaters, as we now get this wonderful camera view of what's going on inside Yuri Toman's cockpit. And you just see how well immersed he is in his race right now. You can just see him just literally urging the wheel, every little minor detail looked after. And you can just see him there taking a lot of the curves there, adjusting the steering as well to make sure that he's got the traction leading down through towards turn 1 now. High speed at this point, just sort of downshifts a couple of times in second up to third, and now powers up through turns 2, 3, and very shortly 4 before he then ventures down in towards turn 5 at the hairpin. But it's been a wonderful visit, certainly for R8G, who on the penultimate lap right now, before they then commence the final lap on the next time around, they have been so convincing, and I think they can be pleased with their own performance.
Yeah, and it's great to see there is not too much to separate their own 3 drivers, about 0.8 of a second between 1 and 2 right now, and then third place, Jajovski, only 1 second back, which shows that they have 3 drivers on a similar level, but they're not just, you know, off the pace. You know, they are taking the fight, and this could definitely help them later on through the series. You know, if they get through the playoffs or get that automatic spot, then of course this could set them up really well for the rest of the series. It's such a unique series as the V10R League because it's not about the drivers. Even though we're watching them right now, you know, they're the ones attacking the track, they're the ones that we're talking about, but it is about the teams. It's a team game, and you have to play the team game, and I think they have done it so well today. Of course, we saw earlier on in the race at Monza where the drivers in second and third played the defence. You know, they held up the other drivers, allowed Chinchik to get the lead and run away with it. And of course, they're doing that again today. Yeah, they could maybe try and attack each other and put on a show and have a race, but it would be silly to do so because they could very easily end up in a collision and ruin all this hard work. You know, they're coming into this race with 8 seconds over Khan at the moment. You know, if they come across the line and, you know, they're hand in hand, 3 across the line, it'd be great to see. But yeah, I think it's just great and nicely composed from the team.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And I think, obviously, composure is a big factor. Certainly when you're dominating, you're in front by a good stretch of margin. 9 seconds now, the gap has sprung open to. You've got to be mentally in the frame of mind in order to pull this off, to maintain the same level of pace. Obviously, the same level of racecraft, try and tackle each corner, try not to get flustered with the result that's on the table. And it's just been a controlled venture here from R8G. They have come here now to Yas Marina after a strong performance at Monza. Yuri Toman, of course, leading the fray. Chinchik, who has been sublime as well. And not to mention Erhan Jajovski. All these three drivers with strong single-seater pedigree in the world of esports. And now they're here in the V10 R League and showing the world what they're capable of. And certainly, coming to an event like this and having a 1-2-3 is so valuable, certainly in the context of the championship.
The marker is really being put down by R8G. BMW, they lost 4-0 to Williams, lost 3-1 to Suzuki, and it looks like they're going to be losing 4-0 again to R8G. But for Yuri Toman, he is going to come around the final corner now, cross the line. It's a race win. It's another 1, 2, and 3 for R8G. Fantastic performance for them today. It's a clean sweep as well, 4-0, and that is really going to help their series hopes.
All right then, you are currently watching the V10 R League. Thank you very much for joining us. And what a matchup that was. BMW taking on R8G. When I say what a matchup it was, what I mean by that is a very, very solid performance from R8G. They have got better as the season has gone on, and now a dominating 4-0 clean sweep of BMW. You have to be consistent. You can only take on the opposition that is in front of you. And BMW, sure, they battled, but unfortunately, just not up to the speed and the pace that R8G have set today. Toman crossing the line first, and previously in Monza, we had Chinchik cross that line. Another 1-2-3 in both team races just prove how strong R8G have been. Now, I have moved in the Gfinity arena. You might be able to tell from my voice. I'm not sat down anymore. Also, standing up next to me, George Morgan, Hayden Gullis. Let's talk about this then, George. They didn't win. They didn't get a point, BMW, but they still battled. But how good are R8G and how far can they go in this competition?
Well, I think despite the challenge difference, obviously I think the difference in pace, I think it showed a great mentality, certainly from R8G, to still continue and push for the faster lap times. If you looked at their race lap times, it wasn't too far off from their qualifying pace, so they were exceptionally strong. And to keep it controlled and come home with 3 cars, 1, 2, and 3, so good for their plaudits for the championship. It's massive for them.
Yeah, a morale booster, confidence booster. Yas Heat will be watching over their shoulder, won't they? They'll be like, hang on a minute, who's this R8G? We didn't expect this from them.
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the series, we thought this is a very easy group for Yas Heat. They look like one of the bigger teams in there, whereas the other group has 2 really big top teams, but they're taking the fight to them. Williams currently leading that group. Yas Heat, yes, they still have a game to play today. And now, of course, R8G leapfrogging them and going into that second position. So it is all to play for, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, and of course, the Abu Dhabi finals will be there. If you finish top of your group, automatic qualification. You just relax. We'll just see you in Abu Dhabi. For the other 2 teams in the playoff position of second and third, they will have to battle it out. And at the moment, R8G are doing what they need to do to make sure they've got the best chance. But Suzuki will be battling it out with them, as well as Yas Heat. But R8G, with that confidence, they'll be happy to take on anyone at the moment.
I think so, and I think the fact that they've been so consistent, I think, is going to be a huge factor, because that's what this series relies on. Obviously, if you can get as many cars up into the top 3 as possible, it goes to show that you're going to be in the points, and naturally, heading into the finale at Abu Dhabi, it's going to be vital for them to get every positive result they can, and that will fuel their result at the end of the competition.
And of course, early on, they had the loss to Yas Heat, so let's ignore that for the second. But Suzuki Jason, they got that win against, so they'll feel confident. A man that will probably be feeling very confident, and the first time we get to chat to him on the V10 R League, or for me, I get to chat to him, is your main man, Toman, who just crossed the line first there in Yas Marina. Great to have you on the show. Tell me, how happy are you with the team's performance and your performance yourself, Mr. Toman?
Yeah, thank you guys. We are, I guess, very happy, and for sure we needed that 4-0 win to be able to have a chance to be P2 in the group. So for sure this win was a very important one, and I think we all did a very great job.
Yeah, all did a great job.
Yeah.
See how sort of diplomatic he was there. Toman, let's talk about your performance. What were you happy with today?
I was happy with the second race with Abu Dhabi because it's my favorite track, much more than Monza, where I usually struggle a lot. So this was a good track for me, and I'm very happy to win the race for sure.
He's very happy to win the race. He's also given out some information to the opposition teams. He's not a fan of Monza. Toman, how important is the picks and bans in this competition?
For sure, it's important, but at the end of the day, you have to be prepared for all of the tracks. So, we just for sure the wildcard match would be very important for all of us. So, at that match, I hope that no track will be a weakness. So, we will do everything to prepare as well as possible.
Okay, I don't know about you, Hayden, George. I'm curious, to make sure a track isn't a weakness out of the 5, how many hours preparation goes into each track?
At the beginning, it was a lot for sure. As more as you test, you sort of switch the tracks more and more. So I don't know. It's very hard to say like a number, how many hours we put in, but for sure it's hundreds of hours already put in for this championship. So it's a lot of hours for sure.
A lot of hours for sure. I like that. Just giving an understanding to everybody watching. So yourself, you've got Jajoski, you've got Chinchik as your teammates. How confident are you in this competition that you can go forward and be with us, commentators and presenters and hosts in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, we have one more match against Williams, which we hope to beat very well as well. So. It's going to be all about the wildcard match, and it's probably going to be the Mercedes or Aston Martin. So, for sure, both of them tough competitors. But we will do everything to try and be there in Abu Dhabi for sure.
Okay, I really appreciate your time. After you've just raced around 2 circuits, 4 races in total, now you can relax, Mr. Toman. Take care, and congratulations on your win today.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
I like that. Just after you've raced, the last thing you want to do is talk to Tom Deacon. That is the last thing you want to do. But I love the fact that they seem confident. And, hey, the next match is going to be at Williams, and that is going to be a really exciting matchup, that one.
Yeah, well, first of all, we always enjoy talking to you, Tom. So
oh, come on, George. You got all day with me. There's no choice.
Absolutely.
What was it? Someone said you're going to have to talk to Tom Deacon for the whole day, 4 races. I remember the groan, said George Morgan. Well, we can confirm the team race results there, and overall in round 4, BMW taking on R8G Esports from Group A. It's a 4-0 win for R8G. And there's nothing that provides more confidence than a clean sweep, Hayden.
Yeah, it sets you up, perfectly for the rest of the series. As they said, they've got one more match to go against Williams, and that is a battle of the Titans, really, for this group, because, either one of them could potentially take that top spot in the group, but also looking at P2 as well.
Yeah. All right, so we started the day with 2 matchups. We had a Red Bull. Oh, I just reminded myself of that crash there between the 2 teams. And obviously, we started in Group B. We've now just had our matchup in Group A. We also had Aston Martin taking on Mercedes, and that was Red Bull Team Fordzilla. We spoke to Yoni Tormala at the end of it. But Manuel Biancolina, one of those drivers, as we often say, definitely a captain. But there was a moment in that matchup, guys, between Aston Martin and Mercedes, where Simon Weigang and Sanchez, they just sort of threw it away a moment, wasn't there? There was a moment where they could have guaranteed that point. But it didn't happen, and now Group B is going to a decider next week, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier on, Aston Martin kind of threw that one away, and it shows today R8G sort of had their roles, and they were great at them. They knew what they needed to do. Okay, it's easier when you've got an opposition that's not necessarily challenging you as hard as Mercedes were, but you've just got to be smart about this. It's a team championship. It doesn't matter where you finish as an individual.
Hey, he said it. George, he said it. It's a team operation here, and the teams that will be racing next are Team Suzuki Jacer versus Yas Heat. Williams at the top of the table. So Yas Heat could leapfrog them into that guaranteed qualification spot.
Yeah, and they've got a very, very strong team too, of course, being led by James Baldwin, of course, the world's fastest gamer, as everyone knows, who's also just landed himself a seat in the 24-hour of Spa as well. So that's going to be an imposing fact. And certainly the likes of Isaac Gillison, they've got so many hench names at Yas Heat. So let's see how they get on.
Hench names, not in terms of letters, just in terms of their profile.
Yeah.
I love it. George, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you talking over this one, this match. And of course, Hayden, brilliant. Now we head to Suzuki Team Jacer versus Yas Heat. That's coming up at 8:30. I'm going to put you on the spot. There's literally no time left. Yas Heat or Suzuki Team Jacer? What do you reckon, George?
Yas Heat.
Okay, straight away. Not even
Easy
any
decision. Yas Heat as well.
All right, there you go. Hayden Gullis, George Morgan. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. 8:30. Set your time, your alarm right now. Come back and join us at the Gfinity Arena for the V10 R League Round 4. You do not want to miss it.